Pacific Beach in San Diego, California. World famous for its gentle waves, laid-back locals, and picturesque sunsets. But not today. For 2 grueling days, 16 of the world's master sand sculptors will compete against the elements.
We don't want the wind to take it.
Worried about this face sliding off.
The clock.
Scrambling.
Oh, we're frantic, no doubt about it.
The stress.
Are you okay?
It's more of a do-or-die situation now.
And each other.
I am not an easy person to deal with, and I know that.
For a shot at their share of $15,000 bucks. But there's one big twist. Explosives.
Fire in the hole!
Who will be blown to oblivion? Who will make an against-the-odds comeback? And who will narrowly escape the dreaded plunger? This ain't your typical day at the beach. This is Sandblasters, the Extreme Sand Sculpting Championship. Just another perfect day in paradise here on Pacific Beach in San Diego, California. And already the crowd is gathering to see some serious destruction.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris McGee. And joining me, a woman as talented in the art of sand sculpture as she is beautiful, Vanessa Vanderplank. Now, Vanessa, you have sand in your blood. You were raised on this stuff, weren't you?
This is true. My dad is one of the top sculptors in the world, so I was pretty much brought up on a strict diet of sand, water, and more sand. But we'll talk about that later because right now we have some beautiful works of art to blow to smithereens.
Here's how it goes. Each 2-person team starts with a 6-foot-tall, 10-ton stack of sand. Over the next 2 days, these artists will use shovels, levels, scrapers, straws, pretty much anything they want as long as it's not a power tool, bringing their elaborate designs to life.
And here's where things get really interesting. We'll randomly and secretly choose 5 sculptures to blow up throughout the competition. Forcing those demolished teams to start all over on the new stacks of sand.
However, once blasted, a team cannot be blasted again.
Because while sadistic, never let it be said that we are not also fair. Okay, let's meet our world-class carvers.
It's a perfect day now that the sun is up, a warm 68 degrees. But our sculptors have officially been at it since dawn.
Yeah, I can't feel my fingers anymore.
Cold for you?
Well, my hands are cold.
Jill and Thomas of Team Sensational are from Florida, so warm is a relative term. In fact, earlier Thomas spoke about how temperature might affect his teammate.
I think a strong weakness for her might be that it's pretty cold out here, and her being from Florida, she's not gonna like it.
I can handle 100-degree heat, but I can't handle this business.
Well, that explains the scarf Jill is wearing. But when you spend 2 days manipulating 10 tons of anything, I'd imagine heat would be a bad thing.
Oh, absolutely, Chris. Heat is the enemy. Not only does it take its toll on the competitors, but it dries out the sand and makes it impossible to shape. Which is why each team starts out with 50 gallons of water to moisten their sand.
Sand has a bit of, it's a squeaky sand. It like vibrates a little bit.
And while we can't see it yet, Sandy and Suzanne of Team Women in Black are going for this earthy design they call Mirage.
Okay, she's looking up. We don't want her looking up. Okay, we can fix it.
This is going to be the hat of a wizard, a dentist wizard.
This is a pretty ambitious design, Chris. Kind of hard to tell from a sketch, but these guys are attempting to carve a wizard extracting a tooth from a dragon.
He's looking this way.
Well, let's hope they're better sculptors than they are sketch artists. Now, Vanessa, what are they trying to figure out right now?
Any way, this way, that way, any way you like it.
It sounds like they're lining up to the sun. Artists want to angle their sculptures so that the light creates shadows that best show off their work.
And kind of crumple it behind the thumb so you've got a little bit of this going on, you know, like where it's coming out. If you've got the thumb coming up like this.
Okay, so these guys are Carl and Kirk of Team Grain Damaged. They're sculpting a head being unzipped to reveal the inner workings of the brain.
Okay, this design is a perfect combination of both their talents. Carl's an expert at sculpting the human form, while Kirk is a master at creating anything mechanical.
Yeah, but I've heard that if there's one team that may have a problem working together, it's these two.
I'm Carl.
I'm Kirk.
We're grain
damaged.
We're going to say it at the same time.
We are not in sync here.
Meet Carl Jara from Cleveland Heights, Ohio.
I typically work alone because I don't necessarily think that my personality will work great with somebody else's.
As a solo artist, he has won 7 major sand sculpting championships.
I don't want to be a part of a team.
And while his fellow sculptors are quick to point to Carl's talents,
he's probably the strongest carver here.
When asked who they wouldn't want to partner up with, they were even quicker to say,
Carl.
Carl.
Carl. Carl? Well, it used to be Carl. But now he's my teammate, so.
Meet Kirk Rademacher of Santa Cruz, California.
I've been sand sculpting for 8 years. I was in a transition in my life. Things weren't working, so I started carving sand, and the world opened up.
An accomplished artist, Kirk is not afraid to take on a challenge.
I carved hummus for the International Kosher Food Fair in New York City. I don't recommend it as a sculpture medium. I've always wanted to work with Carl. He's one of the hottest organic carvers. He can capture the human figure in just a few strokes. And I'm Mr.
He's straight line. This guy carves straight lines better than anybody I've ever met.
Sure, they respect each other's craft, but
when you put 2 artists in the same room together, they're liable to butt heads at some point. I have a feeling that Kirk may be my enemy after this. I'm Carl.
I'm Kirk.
We're grain damaged.
Yeah, this team could definitely provide us with some fireworks.
Especially when you add in the threat of explosions.
So we've met our lone wolves. Now, Vanessa, who here has proven team dynamics?
Many of our artists have been working together a while, Chris, but none have won more competitions as a team than these two, Dan and Meredith of Sanding Ovations.
Oh, it's called pilot fish. The big mechanical fish. Here's the pilot, there's the smokestack. We're coming down to the nose of the fish out here in the head.
I hope.
Yeah, that's plan A, you know.
Yeah,
you
that's
never
plan
know.
You know, earlier we asked Dan if he was concerned about getting blown up, and he shocked us with this answer.
No, I look forward to it, actually.
Vanessa, at first we thought he was just a little unclear on the concept. Then he explained why.
We don't know when we're going to get blown up. Nobody does. So we are kind of looking forward to recovering because we have 3 pieces that we've chosen. We're excited to do all of them. It's a good thing.
Dan may be the only one out here who's more excited to blow these things up than I am.
Should we give our audience a little taste of what's to come?
Absolutely. This is footage of a test we did last week to determine how many pounds of explosives we need to blow these babies up. There's our little test sculpture, and here we go.
3, 2, 1!
Boom! Poetry, Vanessa, poetry. And here's the man responsible for our explosions, Hollywood pyrotechnics expert Tom Bellissimo, eyeing up his potential targets.
If you can't build a sandcastle, well, the next best thing got to be to blow it up, don't you think?
Nice guy, evil job.
Well, there's one team here that's applying their job expertise to this competition, too. It's Team Arcasand.
And it's quite vertical.
Greg and his partner, Co, are both architects who have been working together for years.
It'll be the Chrysler Building, and we're going to have an unruly creature attacking it. And hopefully we'll be able to capture that particular moment in sand.
I'm impressed. These guys are the only team who are building on top of their stacks.
And they're the only team for a reason. It's a little risky. You see, sand needs water to stick together. And they're adding a new, wet, hand-packed tower on top of a stack that's already drying out. So that top is going to be more dense, increasing their chances for collapse.
Well, if anyone can pull off a plan like that, it's gotta be 2 architects. Meet Greg LeBon of Mission Viejo, California.
I started sand sculpting in 1980, so it's really almost been a lifelong endeavor.
And his partner, Ko Tanaka.
Well, I've been working with Greg 15 years.
Together, they have won 4 U.S. Open titles.
First place, Arcasand.
And when not sculpting sand, Greg and Co are successful architects.
We think we're going to win this competition because we have planning on our side. We created a critical path schedule. We estimated how long a design would take to execute in hours and how many hours would be left. It helped us design the projects at different levels.
And we'll soon find out how this technical approach stacks up against the competition.
When Sunday comes along, you'll see who's standing tall. It's going to be Co and I, okay?
Some confident words from an expert who's clearly comfortable pushing the limits.
that hopefully will be
Now, Vanessa, let's see what the president of the World Sand Sculpting Academy, Gary Kirk, thinks of this aggressive approach.
What they're doing that makes it challenging is they're putting a wet mass on top of an already percolated base. What you have is much more weight than what's below it in the second level. It's going to want to push itself right straight down through the middle. Big collapse. Hard recovery.
You know what I'm thinking? We can pop our form soon, and the sooner we know if this is going to fall, the better. If we have too much weight on top, it'll literally blow out. So you got to put, uh-oh. See this go? Okay, we do have technical difficulty. That's a significant crack. What we're experiencing is a significant collapse.
They've been out here since sunrise, shoveling, carving, and dusting 10-ton stacks of sand, knowing that soon,
Fire in the hole!
some of them will be destroyed. All for a chance to win Sandblasters, the Extreme Sand Sculpting Championship. I'm Chris McGee, she's Vanessa Vanderplein, and we are just moments away from unleashing pyrotechnic hell on one of these masterpieces in the making.
This is his scarf right here, right, Dan?
While everyone else has been carving down their mountains of dirt with elaborate plans to turn them into championship-quality sand art, Team Arcasand from Mission Viejo, California, has been attempting to go higher, a move that appears to be cause for catastrophe.
What we're experiencing is a significant collapse.
Oh, bummer, Chris. Adding sand just increased the pressure on their top tier. They just wasted half the morning while other teams sprinted ahead.
Why don't we just move it, and we'll give you guys this tower back.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, Kosan, so we've got a decision to make here now.
Okay, Chris, see how the bottom of the tower just gave way? That's wet sand on top of a dry pack, and it just goes tumbling down.
News of Arcasand's misfortune spreads quickly through the competition, and the Sand Daddy boys are having a hard time mustering any sympathy for Greg and co.
The guys over here that Archie Sand had a collapse, so not that we feel sorry for them.
We might actually be better off having our piece blown up. It would give us a new pile, probably a structurally more sound pile.
Vanessa, could there have been some kind of fault or flaw in the sand?
It's possible, Chris, but officials do everything they can to make sure that all of the sand stacks are uniform. It's a strict process we sculptors call the pound-up. The name says it all. The pound-up is a crucial process where sand is pounded into the densest sculpting material possible. Tons of sand are layered with hundreds of gallons of water inside a wooden frame, then painstakingly compacted. Sand, water, pounding. Over and over and over again. Then an official from the World Sand Sculpting Academy checks it out. And if it gets the okay...
Okay, bring the next layer up.
We move on to Tier 2. And 3. Sand, water, pounding, until you've created the perfect sand canvas for our sculptors to sculpt, and for us to blow up.
Well, I'm impressed at how much those pre-packed stacks of sand have changed in such a short period of time.
Yeah, the designs are really starting to take shape, especially Carl and Kirk of Team Grain Damaged.
You know, earlier we learned that these guys usually fly solo. The other sculptors are eager to see if these two can play nicely together in the sandbox.
To mix Carl and Kirk together, we're curious to see how that's going to work. This is a small pile for two people to be working on, so you're going to have to work together.
And let's see how they're getting along on their sculpture of a head being unzipped to show the gears inside.
And this is where the zipper ends, that's what I'm saying.
Right, but that wouldn't be there. It would be over here somewhere. We're trying to work out how what Kirk's doing interrelates with what I'm doing so that it comes out nice and even. you would have an even number of clasps coming down. I mean, just to be sensible, so that it
I'm not
doesn't
saying
look...
It doesn't have to be sensible.
I understand that, but...
It's fine.
This is just bugging me.
I expected there would be some debate about, design decisions, but I don't want to go along with something that has to be exactly correct.
I never told him this was going to be easy. I am not an easy person to deal with, and I know that.
Well, it's clear these guys have some issues to work out if they hope to pull it together and take home the grand prize.
Yeah, teamwork is essential at this stage.
Okay, let's check out Bruce and Sergey of Team Sandstorm, working on their sculpture they call Mistress of Time. Now, Vanessa, I like the texture details these guys have added, but what's Bruce spraying all over Sergey's work?
Well, Chris, that's what we sculptors call windscreen.
Just a mixture of water and Elmer's glue. Doesn't hurt the environment. Just puts a light skin on the sculpture, so if we do have some weather, it won't blow it away, but it won't do anything for pyrotechnics.
Well, while Bruce is spraying, Sergey seems to be keeping very quiet.
That's because Sergey doesn't speak English.
That's gotta affect their team dynamic.
I'm Bruce.
I'm Sergey.
And we're Team Sandstorm.
Meet four-time world record-holding sand sculptor Bruce Phillips.
I've been involved in sand sculpture for 12 years. During the summer, I teach sand sculpture, actually on this very beach.
But Bruce doesn't see home court as an advantage.
These are all seasoned artists. They're used to having to go around and be in new places.
So he's pulling out the big guns.
I think we're gonna win because I've got the secret weapon here.
Me?
Sergey, he's an awesome artist. He works in concrete, styrofoam, steel, sand, you name it, he does it. He does it very well. He's been in the United States for about 5 years. He doesn't speak English very well.
Sergey.
But Bruce doesn't see the language barrier as a problem.
I won't know what he'll be saying, but I'll read his body language, and I think we'll get the point across.
Sergey.
Our strategy, I think I'm gonna let him tell me what he wants to do and see if he can pull out another win out of his hat.
Well, what he lacks in words, Sergey certainly makes up for in his work. But Bruce shouldn't sell himself short. That giant castle was amazing.
Yeah, it was. It took 8 days for Bruce and Gary Kirk to sculpt that in Japan. It's 30 feet tall.
Well, it's obvious we've got some serious contenders for the championship. But we'll find out how explosives affect their expertise.
We do have a blast coming up, so that could totally change us back to square one. So hopefully we'll stay good, right? No boom, right, Sergey?
No boom, please.
And I'm sure those few words sum up how the other teams feel about their chances for being randomly selected as one of the 5 out of 8 sculptures to be blasted.
If we get blasted first, we're starting over. We think we have plenty of time to do what we want all the way through. And if we do later, we'll just do one of the other designs that we had in mind.
In my mind, this thing is staying up. If it goes down, it's not going down. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
You just keep working on this piece, but your total thought the whole time is, what do I do if and when we do get blasted?
Well, with only a few moments left before that first blast, let's take a look at Team Sand Daddy, featuring Justin Gordon and Ted Siebert, with their Wizard Dentist design.
Hey, what's Justin doing? What the hell have you been doing over here?
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You gotta help me.
No, here's another. He's got a little, undercut or a hollow cut through right here.
That's points right there, boys.
Yeah, that's worth a point.
Chris, he's right. Anytime you can cut through the sand to make it even more three-dimensional, it really brings a sculpture to life.
And that life may soon be over, because that's the signal for teams to stop work and prepare for our first blast. Our players are picking up their tools and clearing the beach. And to make sure our first victim is selected fairly, we've got an independent official to randomly choose a numbered ball, which secretly corresponds to a sculpture to be blown up.
Here she goes, she's tumbling. Now it's stopped. She's putting on a blindfold. Taking a nap, possibly. She's reaching in. Here comes Tom, the demolition expert. She's showing Tom, of course. The anticipation is killing me. Vanessa, what's the mood of the teams?
Okay, so I'm here with Co and Greg from Team Arcasan. You guys nervous?
Yes.
So you had an earlier mishap. Tell me about it.
We had a total collapse earlier in the morning. So if we're going to get blown up, we want to be blown up early.
Will you go back to your original design if you do that?
I don't think so. I don't think the sand will handle the original design. So, you know, it's going to be design 2 or design 3. Design 1, I think, is wishful thinking today.
Well, Vanessa, the crowd here at Pacific Beach is growing in anticipation of what is sure to be a heartbreaking but totally awesome moment of destruction.
Chris, the teams are in position and they know this impending explosion may crush their hopes of winning one of the 3 cash prizes on the line. First place gets $7,500, second place gets $5,000, and best recovery from a blast is worth $2,500. Okay, Chris, do the honors.
Here we go, Vanessa.
It's time to find someone in our crowd who wants to actually blow up one of these masterpieces. Who wants to do it out here? You young man, come out here. What is your name?
Max.
Are you ready to blow something up?
Yeah.
Your love affair with pyrotechnics and explosives is about to begin now, young man. Let's go.
Okay, here we go.
Fire in the hole! Max, grab that handle and let's get ready to destroy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Sandblasters here in Pacific Beach, California.
Push the sand as far as we can.
Where 16 men and women are in the early stages of completing 8 fantastic sand sculptures.
It's looking good right now.
And all are thinking one thing.
No, boom, please.
Please, don't let it be mine.
Fire in the hole! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Who's it gonna be? Oh, it's Team Grain Damage getting the first blast. Vanessa, we've got to see that again.
Yes, please. Okay, this is so cool. Okay, notice how details like the eyeball and bridge of the nose actually stay intact for like a split second. Then the center of the sculpture rips its way out and the entire thing just turns to dust. That's gotta hurt for any artist to see, especially a troubled team like this.
I got to tell you, you guys were having some small issues earlier. Now you actually have a huge issue. Honestly, though, you're feeling when all that hard work, I mean, the detail that was in the hand blowing up before your very eyes.
I was getting ready to be upset, and I feel kind of giddy, actually.
Well, yours is first out of the way, so now you get to rebuild. Talk to me, Carl, about Plan B.
Plan B. Well, actually, we're going to talk about Plan B, and then I'll let you know.
Well, that's Team Grain Damage. It couldn't happen to 2 better guys.
This first blast is a reality check for our sculptors. And now Team Grain Damage is on the site of what used to be a work of art.
I really don't think that redoing the piece is an option at this point. That piece is over.
Yeah, we're to Plan B.
Yeah, Plan B. But wasn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen?
Now we do 2 pieces instead of 1.
You got it.
Cool. All right, man.
Right on, dude. Let's do it.
As they head to a brand new stack, I think the emotion of seeing their work destroyed may hopefully bring these 2 alpha males closer as a team.
Well, that Plan B they mentioned is this design. A couch potato with a TV on his head.
Again, a good combination of the organic and the mechanic. And now that they're starting over, they're the first team to be eligible for the Best Recovery Prize.
Yeah, well, we figured if we were going to get blown, which we inevitably were, the best time to do it was first.
Well, not currently eligible for Best Recovery is Team Arcasand. These guys are really behind the 8 ball. They're now actually tied for lost time with Grain Damaged.
Due to our collapse, we proposed to go to a different design.
That different design is their version of a castle under siege. Very appropriate subject matter for a competition like this, Vanessa.
Yeah, it's funny, but not a very challenging design. They're gonna need some intense detail to pull this one off.
Well, it certainly is stiff competition all around. And across the way from Arcasand is Team Standing Ovations, working on their mechanized pilot fish, very heavy hitters in the competitive world of sand sculpting.
So anybody that gets blasted from here on It's going to be
tough to recover. I didn't think about it. We just focus on this one. If we make it all the way with this piece, it's going to be a great piece, you know, and if we don't, then we scramble. But we're used to that.
Well, if there's one thing this team is used to, it's winning.
Every battle needs its Goliath, and coming into this competition, there are only two people who fit that bill.
Dan and Meredith.
Dan and Meredith.
Dan and Meredith.
Hi, I'm Meredith.
And I'm Dan.
And together we are Team Sanding Ovations. We met in sand at a competition.
It was my rookie year. I entered a Pro-Am. I won it. Got me invited to a Masters event where I met Meredith, and I beat her, by the way.
And we've been competing against each other and with each other ever since. Sometimes Dan wins, sometimes I win, but together we're the strongest.
And that has been bad news for their competitors.
Dan and I are in the money 90 to 95% of the competitions that we enter.
It'd be 100, but we get robbed once in a while. We work so well together because we don't even have to talk.
He's so talented.
He's my hero.
We like being the ones that they're looking out for. What are Dan and Meredith doing? It pushes us, and we're going to do our best work when we're in that position.
This may look like a small shovel, but it's all we need to bury the competition.
Chris, in my opinion, no one is better suited for a competition like this than Dan and Meredith.
Well, right next door is another sand sculpting couple, Jill and Thomas of Team Sensational.
They may not have a lot of awards like Dan and Meredith, but I think that they are just as talented and could be a factor in this event.
Well, their bank robbery scene is really starting to pop. You can already see the detail in the three bank robbers' heads.
There's three guys that are going to rob the bank. So they planted their explosive on top of the safe in order to open the safe. Just the sad thing is they've got all their stuff rigged up and they don't know that the key is right in front of their nose.
Yeah, this one cracks me up. And judges often favor sculptures with a sense of humor.
Well, these two are definitely in sync, as they have been working together for years.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Jill, and we are Team Sensational.
Thomas and I met on a project in Belgium. A mutual friend introduced us, and we hit it off immediately.
I moved from Holland to live in Florida with Jill.
We've been together ever since.
And together, they run a successful sand sculpting company.
We've been working as a team for about 7.5 years.
We go around the world making sand sculptures. It's a lot of fun. We love it.
I don't know if I'll ever get very rich doing this, but I'm certainly going to be very happy doing it.
And there is no doubt this duo has the talent.
Jill is really good with coming up with ideas.
Thomas is very good at being accurate and getting movement and doing the big lines.
Yet, when it comes to competitions, Team Sensational has one glaring weakness.
Jill is talented, but she doesn't like to compete.
Jill and Thomas don't do well under pressure.
It's true that anybody who knows me knows it just makes me nervous. I just rather be on one big pile of sand with everybody playing together.
But is the competition taking these experienced carvers too lightly?
Thomas is a pussycat.
People that think we're not that much of a threat, well, they'd be in for a big surprise.
It's an event like no other. 1 part art, 1 part sport, and 5 parts explosives. This is Sandblasters, where the world's best sand sculptors have descended on Pacific Beach in California for their share of $15,000 in prize money. So far, Team Grain Damage has had their number pulled, forcing them to see their hard work obliterated and start all over again. Okay, Vanessa, let's head over to Team Sandstorm with Bruce and Sergey and their Mistress of Time design.
I was surprised at the size of the blast of the first destruction. I didn't think it was going to be that spectacular.
Grain Damage Blast was spectacular, and the detail these two are putting into their design is truly beautiful.
Chris, notice the undercuts, those pieces of sand that hang out far enough to create shadow. Another prize-winning technique.
Let's take a look down the beach at Team Women in Black, where Sandy and Suzanne are adding even more elements to their already attractive mirage.
Chris, this is a nice piece. Notice features like the dolphins and the mermaid's hands, a particular challenge that Sandy spoke about.
Yeah, hands are always a problem. I hate hands, but Suzanne's pretty good at them, so that's why we're a good team. We think the face turned out pretty good.
Well, this is one team that's used to overcoming the odds. Team Women in Black has nearly 45 years combined experience in the art of sand.
I've been sculpting sand very seriously for over 20 years. I started sand sculpting about 23 years ago as an apprentice to Mark Altamar, my husband, who did sand sculpting for 30 years.
Thanks to Suzanne's husband, the Altamar name is legendary.
Mark Altamar is an icon in the sand sculpture world.
Well, Mark was the type of guy that was sincere, very, very talented.
If he was sculpting someone on the beach and the wind was blowing, the hair would be blowing the direction the wind would have blown it.
Tragically, Mark lost a hard-fought battle with cancer in 2002.
Sometimes, if I'm carving, people will come up to me and they'll thank me, you know, for carrying on.
For Suzanne, this is a bittersweet milestone in her extensive competitive career. It's the first time she's partnered with anyone else since the heartbreaking loss of her husband.
It's nice, but it's, you know, I miss him.
Without Mark, Suzanne is committed to continuing the tradition he started so many years ago. A commitment her new teammate doesn't take lightly.
If Suzanne and I could win, it would be a feather in Mark's cap as well as ours. He would have loved this. He truly would have loved this.
Clearly, women in black have more riding on this event than most teams. A win here would truly honor a great man, a great husband, and a legendary sand sculptor.
Chris, anyone who's familiar with sand sculpting knows Suzanne's story, and I'm really happy she's out here today. She's a hard worker, she loves it, and both these women are part of the backbone of the sand sculpting community.
Does this look like some sort of coral or something? What am I doing here? Yeah, you know what, if we get a little wet pack, we can just look just like coral.
As the clock ticks down towards our next explosion, the teams are fighting hard to stay on track.
I would like to be blown up soon, because, you know, right now, Plan B is constantly in our heads.
It is. That's all I'm thinking about.
How are we going to recover?
We kind of wanted the first one. Everyone wanted to go first, to be blown up first, but now you don't know, and if you do get blown up, there's so little time left that, yeah, there's a little fear that it'll be us. I don't want to start over.
Rusty and Chris of Team Buckethead are starting to show some stress, Vanessa.
They should be stressed, Chris, but for another reason. Their Mother Earth design isn't that complex, and they're just now working their way down their stack.
Well, their relaxed approach is no surprise from these two guys.
In addition to sand, I also sculpt snow and ice, and then I decorative paint the rest of the time.
Meet Rusty Croft from Park City, Utah.
The difference between sculpting sand and snow and ice is obviously sand sculptors get more chicks.
They're not always cute. Ugh.
Meet Chris Ginto from Key West, Florida.
What attracts me most to sand sculpting is the parties.
Together they are
Bucketheads.
And while Rusty is an experienced carver,
I got started in sand sculpting here in San Diego in 1997, working on the Atlantis project, the biggest sand sculpture in the world at that time.
Chris is a relative newcomer.
I started carving sand in 2002. Took the last year off, so I've only been carving for really 2 years. I'm a sea kayak guide, and I basically take tourists out in the mangroves and the islands looking for sharks, dolphins, turtles, blah, blah, blah.
Chris might be a little crazy.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Don't say I drink too much.
But despite wine, women, and sanity issues, this team definitely has youth and enthusiasm on its side.
Hopefully we're going to inspire each other and come up with something really good.
Carl, Dan, and Meredith. And Suzanne, you're going down.
I'll carve, he'll talk smack, we'll be fine.
Oh, we're gonna win.
Not sure that's the best strategy, Vanessa, but there's no doubt they both have some talent. I think Rusty's snow and ice work was pretty impressive.
Yeah, Rusty's a pro. He loves to joke around, but he loves winning even more.
Well, the teams are jumping off their stacks and preparing for their fate.
Which means it's time for the blast lottery.
Tension is mounting. Vanessa, this is absolutely killing me. How are the teams feeling?
Is it more nerve-wracking now?
Absolutely.
But you got something interesting planned just in case you do?
Well, something interesting, but something that we can do quick and hopefully finish in time.
Okay, Vanessa, our teams have gathered up on their firing line, and after 5 hours of sculpting, they're now getting a bird's eye view of who's gonna get hit next. Will it be Standing Ovation's Pilot Fish, Sensational's Bank Robbers, Sand Daddy's Wizard Dentist, Women in Black's Mirage, Sandstorm's Mistress of Time, Arcasand's Castle Under Siege, or Buckethead's Mother Earth? And that leaves one team with nothing to worry about.
Carl, no pressure on you now. No pressure on you.
None,
And
none at all.
You're having a great time here today, right?
Oh, yeah, we are now anyway.
Yeah, you're now going to have more fun because Carl is going to blow one of you up. Carl, you're going to do it.
How do you feel about that, Carl?
I feel like I've been redeemed.
Yeah. Carl, let's step down and let's have some fun and let's blow some people up here.
Yeah!
Now, Carl, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Pick that baby up. Pacific Beach, are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Pacific Beach, California, where 16 master sculptors are competing for their share of $15,000 in prize money and the right to be called Extreme Sand Sculpting Champion. But look out, this is not your daddy's sand sculpting competition. Because we play with explosives. First to feel the heat was Team Grain Damaged. And now one more sculpture is about to be obliterated, putting 6 hours of painstaking sculpting to waste. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's Team Sandstorm. Their mistress of time is history. That is awesome. We definitely need to see that again, Vanessa.
Absolutely. Okay, check it out, Chris. All that precious detail disappears first. Then the bigger pieces like the arm of the chair and the human hand, then they go. And my favorite part is the face actually lifts up and flies sky high before it vanishes.
Oh, I love this team. I love this sculpture, but I love seeing it get destroyed. That's gotta be tough for them to deal with. Bruce, how are you feeling about Plan B?
Well, I'm still reeling from Plan A getting destroyed, but we'll just tear into it. We'll start all over and do another one.
Good news is you're not going to get blown up again. Right. All of our competitors, you guys can get back out there, and we're going to blast another one in just a little bit.
Okay, Chris, while Team Sandstorm surveys their blast site, let's check in with Carl from Team Grain Damage, who actually pulled the trigger on his competitors.
I just blew up Bruce and Sergei's piece. I am now officially the first ever sand sculptor to blow up another sand sculptor's piece.
There's one piece, your woman's knee. That was a good one, too.
As the other sculptors get back to work, the sting of that last blast is still on their minds. Let's get some of the reactions as they move forward.
I don't want to get blown up anymore. At first I wanted to be first, and now I just want to be able to finish what I have.
Dan and I are really strong and fast, so, you know, that could help us. But I think we have a strong piece going at this point, too. You know, we just want to go all the way. I want to gamble at this point.
That's typical Meredith for you, just pushing ahead, risking it all.
You know, I'm still interested in Grain Damaged. Now just over an hour into their second sculpture, they're no longer at risk for explosion. They are eligible for the best recovery prize. They've got to be feeling good right now.
Well, they've already removed the wood on their second tier, and the TV-headed man they're sculpting is beginning to take shape.
I was bored with the other one already.
Bored with the other one.
Yeah.
Not sure, Vanessa. It appears these two are really starting to get along.
Don't be fooled, Chris. These are hard-headed artists. You can never be sure that attitude will last.
Well, now let's take a look at Team Arcasan's second design, their Castle Under Siege.
So it's a fine line between making the thing look like it's decaying and in siege and just having the whole thing fall apart. And I think as we continue, that's going to be the line we're going to be trying to find.
Now over to Team Bucketheads. I've got to tell you, Vanessa, still not seeing the progress on this one that the other teams have made.
It's near the end of the day. We're realizing how much more we have left to do and how little time is left to do it in. So we're kind of all of a sudden kicked up a notch. We're scrambling.
Rusty's hit the nail on the head. With 2 blasts down and another coming soon, they're in big trouble if they hope to catch up with experienced teams like Sand Daddy.
Ted and Justin are beginning to add lots of detail to their wizard dentist.
This is the silicone particle expulsion generator. This is a very important tool, and it helps clean stuff off without touching it. It's a very important rule when operating one of these things. You cannot suck.
Huh. These guys really do know all the tricks.
He and Justin have been competing for years.
Yep, these two are our resident sand sages.
I started sculpting about 17 years ago. The last maybe 14 or 13, it's been a full-time job.
Meet Ted Siebert of Woodstock, Illinois.
I do 20 to 25 jobs a year, shopping malls, trade shows, and fairs and festivals. I've broken 6 world records, and I wrote a book called The Art of Sandcastling, something I'm proud of.
Yet after all these years in the business, Ted has just one rule when it comes to sand sculpting.
I only work with people I like. I'm serious about that. You can be the most talented guy in the world, but if you're no fun to work with, see ya.
I've been sculpting for over 30 years.
Meet Justin Gordon from Groveland, Massachusetts. Justin's a talented and versatile carver.
I not only sculpt sand, but I sculpt ice, snow, foam, wood. I've had to carve tree sculptures with chainsaws hanging out of an aerial lift. I'll sculpt chocolate if somebody wants to pay me to do it. I met Ted in '92 at the World Championships.
And fortunately for both men, their personalities clicked.
Yeah. Let's not even go there.
And so did their sculpting.
Our skills kind of complement each other. It's a good fit.
I never plan on winning. I just plan on having a good time. And I think that's one of the nice things Ted and I share.
Hi, I'm Ted.
And I'm Justin, and we're Team Sand Daddy.
Vanessa, those two have been at this kind of thing for a while. And that ice Jaguar Justin made looked terrific.
Yeah, anybody who can sculpt in both ice and sand has some serious skill.
But it looks like the intensity of this challenge is getting to Ted.
I'm trying to relate the pain in my back to his mouth. It's not my back, it's my butt, my knee, and my ankle. I just can't get in a comfortable position. It just hurts.
Oh yeah, Ted is suffering. After watching all of our teams today, there's no doubt this is serious hard work, not just lounging around on the beach.
This is a demanding occupation, and competitions just increase the wear and tear on the artist.
My wife keeps bugging me about how many more years am I going to be able to do this physically?
Years? I'm hoping Ted makes it through the weekend. Welcome back to Sandblasters, where 16 of the world's master sculptors came.
Just keep moving.
They've carved.
What the hell have you been doing over here?
And they've cowered.
No, boom, please.
This one-of-a-kind competition is getting more intense by the moment. Already, Team Grain Damage was treated to some serious damage.
I think I see total devastation.
Then Team Sandstorm was blown out of the lead.
That was a good one, too.
And in just a moment, one more work of art will vanish in front of its maker.
Fire in the hole!
But our teams are focused, professionals still intent on winning first place.
I was bored with the other one already.
Bored with the other one.
Yeah.
And the beach battle continues here on Sandblasters, the Extreme Sand Sculpting Championship. This is Chris McGee along with Vanessa Vanderplein. And with such accomplished artists at work, determining who walks home with their share of their $15,000 in prize money is no easy task. And it's the job of these three people, our judges. Let's take a look at the local experts who comprise our panel.
I'm Dorothy Annette, and I'm a commissioner for the City of San Diego Arts and Culture.
Joining Dorothy is Joe Darren, president of the San Diego Museum of Art's Artist Guild.
My background is in architecture. I'm an architect and a photographer.
And Mary Karen, a professor of sculpting at the Art Academy of San Diego.
They're more gutsy than I am.
Yeah, I really don't envy those three. Choosing a clear winner out of this bunch is just going to get harder as the sculptures get more advanced.
Well, Vanessa, what are the judges basing their decisions on?
The sculptures will be judged on three main criteria: artistic merit, technical difficulty, and compositional design. For example, I'm noticing the artistic merit of a piece like Pilot Fish from Team Standing Ovations. The strong shape and intricate details of the device makes it look like you can actually ride in it. The expression of the pilot, the cut-throughs, artistically, it's fun and it looks awesome.
Okay, how about technical difficulty? Would you pick someone like Sandaddy?
Well, Chris, you and I were both leery of this design at first because their sketch looks so confusing. But in looking at it now, it does have some great cut-throughs and undercuts, and you can't deny how powerful and three-dimensional that dragon's wing looks.
I agree, and it looks cool. And how about compositional design?
If I were a judge, I'd have to consider a sculpture like Sensational's Bank Robbery. Notice the detail on the bricks and the way they used all three sides of the mound to tell a story. And the positioning of the bodies of the three robbers really gives the piece life. And remember, for the best recovery prize, the judges will also consider how much time each team has had to rebuild since being blasted.
Well, let's add another team to that potential best recovery list by pulling the artists away from their work and set up for yet another devastating explosion.
Here we are again, our fairness official, about to put her hand in the tumbler and grab a ball. But first, she's covering herself up because apparently she doesn't trust herself either. She's grabbing, and in comes Tom, our demolition expert. I gotta tell you, I'm emotionally spent. Vanessa, back to you.
I'm here with Jill and Thomas. You guys made it through 2 blasts.
Well, I really want to finish. I like the piece that I'm doing, and there's a whole lot more we want to put into it. So hopefully we'll get to finish it all the way.
We're here with Ted and Justin from Sand Daddy.
Sand Daddy.
How you guys feeling? You made it through the first 2 blasts.
It's a 50-50 chance now. There's three out of 6 left, so if we're gonna get blasted, we want it to happen right now. Sooner the better.
Now, I don't care who gets blasted. I just want to see something get blasted. So let's go check it out.
Our artists are clearly loopy after a day in the sun, and the crowd's clamoring with anticipation as our sculptors anxiously step out to their viewing station.
You two are gonna do the blowing up. How do you feel about
Awesome.
that, Bruce?
Good. It makes me happy.
All right, let's go.
It's another moment of truth, as any one of these 6 unblasted teams could have their hard work destroyed after a whole day of back-breaking sculpting. Will it be Arcasand's cracking castle? Sand Daddy's dragon? Women in Black's mirage? Buckethead's Mother Earth? Sensational's bank break-in? Or Standing Ovation's pilot fish?
One of your competitors is going down, Bruce. Bruce and Sergey, one hand on it each.
All right, here we go. Fire in the hole!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's Team Bucketheads. Their Mother Earth just got nuked. Let's see that awesomeness again.
Okay, Chris, this one blew up a lot differently. Look at how the blast seems to slow down at the top. That's because it left so much sand on the bottom. The head and the shoulders lift skyward, and the hole in the front widens and just rips apart the artwork.
Give me your thoughts real quick. I talked to Bruce about this earlier. I mean, you just watched your work shattered.
It's pretty cool, actually, but but it's not. Now we got to start over. So, yeah, we'll see.
Chris and Rusty, a positive outlook and a pile of sand.
We're halfway through our competition, and now the Bucketheads are able to survey the damage and regroup for phase 2.
You know, this is kind of a nice synopsis for a piece. This is a nice wrap for the whole thing, because the idea was she's getting trashed. And she was all endangered species, and now she's gone. So it's fitting. This one's done. Next.
A poetic summary from an artist who's just seen his creation crumble.
And it's a harsh reminder for those 5 remaining teams whose hard work could get destroyed with even less time to restart.
Well, as the sun sets here at Pacific Beach, our teams are busy weatherproofing their sculptures before a night of well-deserved rest, knowing that they will face off against each other, the judges, and even more random devastation for a chance at victory. The sun is barely up, and our teams are heading back to their stacks.
Oh, yeah!
And this competition is already in full swing.
Can we start? Oh.
Okay, now it is.
Oh, his whole body will be no lower than that. You know, I can just bring a foot out and make it look stupid. Okay.
And as our artists dig back into their work, let's get a quick review of the rules.
Each of our 8 two-person teams started with a 6-foot-tall, 10-ton stack of sand. They've been given 50 gallons of water and 2 days to use shovels, levels, scrapers, and straws to turn piles of dirt into visions of beauty.
And here's how we raise the stakes. We've been randomly choosing 5 of the 8 sculptures to blow up throughout the event, forcing those teams to start all over on brand new 10-ton stacks of sand.
And of course, once blasted, the team cannot be blasted again because even we have a heart.
albeit a small black one. All right, let's cut the chit-chat and let's find out which teams still have a chance to be obliterated.
Chris, these 5 teams are now knee-deep in their design, spending as much time worrying about their sculptures as their strategies.
There's no doubt about it. We're fortunate that we haven't been blasted yet. But we're also very aware that we could be next.
People didn't sleep last night, and everybody's all bent out of shape, and it's like, man, this is just awful to think that you get all the way up to the end, and then you're boom.
We're pretty much sunk if we get blown up at this point.
There'll be just a couple hours left after the next explosion, so I don't know. I'm a little nervous, because we really like the piece.
Dan's right on the money. Being blasted creates a challenge, but as more time passes, coming back from an explosion becomes even more of a struggle.
Come on, these people knew what they were getting into. Aside from lining up dominoes and piling up playing cards, sculpting sand has got to be frustrating work.
Actually, Chris, that's what makes this more than just an art, and more than just a sport. It's that temporary nature of sand that makes these artists thrive.
What attracts me most to sand sculpting is...
We borrow from nature the sand. We create art out of it.
It's fun, hang on the beach, watching the chicks walk by.
And then we return it to nature.
At first, their reasons for a life on the beach seemed as varied as the artists themselves. But there are a few common traits. One, the need for speed.
Sand's great because you can carve really quick.
And you can do something very beautiful in 25 minutes.
And if it doesn't work, start over again. You're not going to run out of sand.
Two, they're people.
When you make a sand sculpture, people will flock to it.
You get a lot of groupies when carving sand.
I love these people. Maybe that's unhealthy, you know, I don't know.
Three, their office is a beach.
Can't beat this environment.
We travel around the world playing in the sand.
I've been to places that some people will never see in their lifetime.
But still, why would anyone spend time working on something they know will be destroyed?
That's like life. I mean, what do accountants show for what they do at work every day? They fill out the paperwork, they send it on, they don't see it again, so what's the difference?
Now I just kind of look at it as job security. We can come back next year and do another one.
They do it for speed, they do it for travel, they do it for love. They're sand sculptors.
I wish that I'd have discovered a love for sand sculpture before I wasted 7 years in college.
Oh, good old Carl, 7 years. At least he's in his element out here on the sand.
Yeah, well, Carl and his teammate Kirk are still adjusting after a day of headbutting and being blasted yesterday.
And it looks as though their man with a TV on his head is taking on a different shape than planned.
We had this brilliant flash of insight that all we had to do was just transform this figure that we had initially into this giant, grotesque figure. You know, what is modern technology, what has it done to us?
Incorporating a personal philosophy like that can help you earn points for compositional design. I just hope they can keep focused and not fight anymore.
Having been blasted second, Bruce and Sergey of Team Sandstorm are also out of the frying pan.
Oh, but they've fallen into the fire with their second design. It's a matador and a bull. But check out how tall the cape is.
We know we're not going to get blasted again. However, if somebody right across the way from us gets blasted, we do have the tallest piece now. So we're kind of worried that we might lose the top just from the concussion. So we're just really concerned about a little bit of the lack of time.
Yet we've already seen what height can do to a sculpture in a competition like this. Bruce and Sergey will need to keep their sand wet and well packed to maintain the height they're planning.
Well, there's also a struggle next door at Team Buckethead. As the latest team blasted, they have only the rest of today to start and finish this second sculpture.
It's entitled Dreams, you know, basically anything what you dream about, wavy, things like that, you know, melted in together. Try and keep it quick and simple, really.
Big, simple shapes to make the biggest impact we can.
Yeah.
And that we can finish. That's the main goal, is we want a piece that we want to finish.
Today we're looking to impress the judges more or less just speed. Really, it's the only thing we can work with. Everybody else, people that haven't gone blown up yet, they can just keep their detail and keep on with it because they have, you know, obviously twice as much time as we have, but it's not going to happen here.
I like that they have a focused goal of completing, but I'm not that excited about this new design. Sounds very vague. Something judges may not latch on to.
Well, the teams I assume the judges will be especially harsh on are those that have yet to be blasted. Sculptures like Standing Ovation's Pilot Fish, Team Sensational's Bank Robbery, Sand Daddy's Wizard Dentist, Women in Black's Mirage, and Arca Sand's Castle Under Siege are all under the threat of detonation. Welcome back to Pacific Beach, California, the site of Sandblasters, the Extreme Sand Sculpting Championship. After a day and a half of competitive carving, three works of art have returned to Mother Earth.
That piece is over.
While 5 have managed to dodge the dynamite.
Well, I don't want to get blown up anymore.
But for 2 of them, their luck
Fire in the hole!
will soon run out. This is Chris McGee along with Vanessa Vanderplein, and the teams now are scrambling, knowing that another explosion is just moments away.
The unblasted teams have the odds stacked against them, and yet they push on with their designs.
Well, Arcasand, who suffered a self-inflicted collapse early in day 1, are continuing to tempt fate by adding intentional cracks and holes to their castle under siege.
Yet judges aren't easily impressed with standard ideas like castles, so those cracks could add much-needed detail or just be a waste of time.
A blast at this juncture in the event would be a real inconvenience to our progress.
Speaking of progress, check out team standing ovations.
Well, Chris, these 2 pros are certainly giving their pilot fish even more detailed elements as they work on the bottom of the sculpture with the small scraper.
Oh, we're gonna win. I mean, there's no doubt about it. No, I don't want to whammy us. It's, we have a good piece going. I think there's a couple of good pieces left. My expectations are high.
You know, Dan's attitude is good for a competitor. He's confident, but also cautious.
I'm gonna be devastated if you outblow this up. I really am. It's just really now coming together. If we have just another hour or 2, this piece is gonna pop. I mean, and not pop up, I mean pop out and make people excited.
Team Women in Black are really getting attached to their work.
It's hard to let go of something you spend 2 days bringing to life. This is the first time any of these seasoned sculptors has had to recover from an explosion.
Well, we're definitely changing the course of sand sculpting history. 5,000 years ago, the Egyptians built sand models of their pyramids before moving on to the real thing. But it wasn't until 1952 when Fort Lauderdale hosted the world's first sand sculpting competition and paved the way for this sand sculpting renaissance, the 1970s. Artist Gary Kirk, Mark Altamar, and Vanessa's dad, Todd Vanderplein, mixed old-school techniques with new-age showmanship, turning child's play into art. They discovered that by using wooden forms during the pound-up, they could make their sculptures bigger and better, and bigger again.
We'd stack up sand and start carving it for 3 or 4 days.
Then in 1985, Smithsonian Magazine did an 8-page spread on Kirk and Vanderplein's 55-foot Bluebeard's Castle, and sand sculpting went international.
That really did it for us. We were on our way.
Today, many of sand sculpting's elite are able to carve out a comfortable living through international competitions, corporate marketing, and community events. So when exactly was the first sand sculpture blown up?
It's the first time
we've blown up sand sculptures.
Yep, you're looking at it.
Why would they blow up these amazing works of art?
Why? Because we can, lady.
I have to agree with you. Anybody else is fine, but not this one.
Even though I've been in the trenches and know how hard this work is, I get a twisted sense of satisfaction knowing Dan's design could get destroyed.
So what do you think the judges would say about it at this stage?
Well, there are a lot of plain, smooth areas on it where your eyes can rest and take in the whole piece. It's detailed, but very simple.
Holes or rivets around the... Yeah, I got marks here.
This combination of whimsical concept and meticulous detail is what makes Dan and Meredith such a threat.
So Vanessa, as we look at our grid of 8 teams, who do you see challenging Dan and Meredith for the top spot?
Well, in keeping with our whimsical yet detailed theme, once again, I have to put sensational right up there.
Interesting. So the team that doesn't like to compete finds itself on your leaderboard.
Yeah, these 2 might shy away from competitions, but they definitely know what crowds like.
It's been encouraging to hear the public go by saying, oh, that's our favorite. We like the bank robbers.
This sculpture tells a complete story using all 3 sides of the stack. There are loads of details like bricks, the bags of money, and of course, the 3 bank robbers' faces. They're setting the bar high for all the other artists.
Detail is our style. That's really what we have a good reputation for, is making a ridiculous amount of details, which unfortunately in something like this, it takes a long time.
Well, Jill's time is up for now, as our competitors have been ordered to clear the area. Some take a moment to check out each other's designs, while others take what could be one last look at their own hard work.
Actually beginning to get a little nervous here.
And as always, Chris makes sure that the Lone Ranger of ball picking keeps everything on the up and up.
Inside the ball, she will grab one. The destiny of one of our 8 teams in her hands. There's Tom, our explosives guy. Confirms it. Vanessa, the mood in the 10.
So, do we have any thoughts on who's going to be the next team to be blasted?
We take that as the highest form of flattery.
There you go. The crowd grows as our artists head out to face the cold, hard truth that one of their sculptures will be destroyed. Will it be the feared titan of competition, team standing ovations, and their pilot fish? Or will it be Sensational's bank robbery, Sand Daddy's wizard dentist, Arcasand's castle under siege, or Women in Black's mirage? And in keeping with tradition, our latest blast victim becomes our next executioner, Team Bucketheads. All right, guys, are you ready?
Lift it up.
Are you ready, everybody? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. For a day and a half, 16 of the world's best sand artists have been locked in a titanic battle. And this battle has had more than its share of casualties. 3 teams have watched, helpless, as their masterpieces in progress were pulverized to powder after an entire day of sculpting. 5 sand creations remain untouched, but for one of them, that's all about to change. Are you ready, everybody? Yeah! Why don't you count with me, every man, woman, and child? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, no. It's team standing ovations, and Meredith is visibly shaken by seeing her pilot fish blown to pieces. Vanessa, let's see it again in slow-mo.
That's awesome. Watch the face of the pilot fish. The eyes hold their shape all the way to the end. All of Dan and Meredith's hard work and sweat returns to the beach.
Sushi, anyone? You know what? I saw your reaction when it blew up. You just had your arms up like almost you knew it, and let's get back out there and go after it.
Ah, we'll show them all. We're the most hated couple here, you know, so we'll show them. We're still going to win.
Remember, people hate you when you're good. Now let's get back out there because you guys are racing up against the clock. Let's get after it. Okay, there's just over 3 hours of sculpting time left, so there's no room for mistakes.
Well, Dan and Meredith lost everything in that last explosion, but knowing them, they're not giving up without a fight.
We had a major collapse at a world championship in 2001, but we were able to recover that and win the world championship.
Now immune from being blasted again and currently eligible for the best recovery prize, they're on to a brand new pile and a hurried start to a brand new design.
Oh, well, you were asking me if...
Over at Team Sand Daddy, Ted continues to push through the pain.
I'm just going to pump myself full of pain pills and we're going to do it.
Ted's got to choose between relaxing his back or finishing their sculpture on time. And for an old pro like him, that's hardly a choice.
Vanessa, I'm just so impressed with how fast all of these teams are finishing their work.
We'll give these sculptors more time and manpower, and you'd be amazed at what they can do.
It was just under 28 feet, which is tall as about your average telephone pole.
When given 100 hours to work, Ted Siebert and a friend made the world's tallest hand-built sand sculpture.
That's hand-shoveled, hand-packed.
Meaning none of this, and lots more of that.
You can shovel maybe 6 or 8 feet in the air, then you have to make a ledge, shovel onto the ledge, and then re-shovel that. It's more of an engineering feat than it is an art feat.
But what happens when these artists are given unlimited amounts of time and manpower?
We had about 2,000 spring breakers helping us with it. It was amazing, amazing thing.
Well, for Sandy, that meant creating the world's longest sand sculpture, measuring just over 2 miles. But if sand sculptures are temporary, sand sculpture records are even more so.
Every couple of years, they're gonna make something that's really, really big and try to top the last world record.
So 3 years after Sandy's feat, Ted worked on a 6.5-mile sculpture.
It was more of a publicity stunt than anything.
But a year later, Ted could only watch as Suzanne Altamore and company carved a sculpture that was 16.39 miles long. But nothing tops a project built here in San Diego called Atlantis. It was the brainchild of the WSSA's Gary Kirk and took nearly 7 years to organize. But finally, in 1997, he received permission from San Diego County to scrape off the top 2 feet of sand on Fiesta Island. The entire island. Talk about a big pound-up. This was 100,000 tons of sand. And for the next month, 80 master carvers, including Greg, Jill, Rusty, and Sandy, turned this mountain range of sand into the world's largest sand sculpture. It stood 6 stories tall and ran the length of 1.5 football fields, leaving spectators, news crews, and world-class carvers in utter awe.
It's awesome. You're part of a world record. They have postcards all over the world of it. Makes you feel good.
But in the end, Atlantis met the fate of all sand sculptures. If only we could have blown it up. So Vanessa, we've certainly been joined today by sand sculpting's elite, haven't we?
You've got it, Chris. And on the top of that list are these two. The recently blasted Dan and Meredith of Team Sanding Ovations.
We're going for first place yet. There's nothing else. I mean, everything else to us is a consolation.
Dan's referring to our Best Recovery Prize, which he and Meredith are now also eligible for after being blasted.
They've got their sights on the first place prize of $7,500. And their brand new sculpture is already taking shape. And it's really cool the way Meredith's squirting the water to actually help sculpt the sand.
This piece is going to be a combination of the piece we just did and a new one. The pilot fish just sunk, and it's going to be down at the bottom of the water, and we're doing coral reef, and pieces of the pilot fish will be strewn amongst the bottom of the ocean.
This is where you show everybody what you're made out of.
To be honest, Chris, I am really surprised these two are doing a coral reef. It just doesn't seem that original.
Well, sometimes original thinking can cause trouble. Take a look at Team Sandstorm's ultra-thin Matador.
The piece is drying out a little bit faster than we'd like, and we got to keep it wet because we're looking right at the sun.
Bruce and Sergey might be in serious trouble here, Chris. More water means more weight, and that's something this delicate sculpture might not be able to take.
We don't want it to be any heavier than it already is. Of course, we don't want it any drier than it is because it'll just fall apart. So we're just playing the time game right now. This is exactly what we're talking about here. We got a big crack going.
Oh, Vanessa, that is not good. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a thin crack in the Matador's cape that's spreading up and around the piece.
So there's just the risk of the whole thing falling in on itself.
They may have pushed the sand too far. Their thin sculpture is slowly starting to collapse.
And with so little time left to recover, Bruce and Sergey might just be out of the running. The competition is intense.
I don't even think about it, Chris.
The conditions are extreme.
I don't want to get blown up anymore.
And to make matters worse,
fire in the hole!
We've got explosives. Welcome back to Sandblasters, the Extreme Sand Sculpting Championship. I'm Chris McGee, along with Vanessa Vanderplein, and this is Crunch Time.
Yes, it is, Chris. We're only a few hours away from the finish and just minutes from obliterating our 5th and final sculpture.
But before we do, let's take a moment to look back at all the glorious carnage. Our first victim was Team Grain Damaged, whose gearhead sculpture
3,
took an express elevator
2, 1.
to sculpture heaven. They were soon followed by Team Sandstorm. And then the Bucketheads. And then Team Sanding Ovations could only watch
Fire in the hole!
as 2 days of hard work
3,
literally vanished
2, 1.
before their eyes. And there you have it, 4 wonderful pieces of art, 4 piles of sand. Sandstorm seems to have saved their thin Matador sculpture from drying out and crumbling by adding more glue mixture and some strategic sculpting.
Sometimes it'll just slowly start to go, and you can pull weight off one side and just kind of counteract that.
Bruce and Sergey are eligible for Best Recovery from a Blast, but if they keep this sculpture standing, I'd say they even be a threat for first or second prize like the unblasted teams.
Anybody could win, still. Just because you didn't get blown up doesn't mean that you have the best piece.
Now, Jill's anxiety is totally justified with only one blast left before the judges make their decision, but I don't care what she says. She's got to feel some relief now that Standing Ovation's terrific pilot fish sculpture has been destroyed.
So while Sensational nervously adds detail and shadows to their already popular bank robbery scene, let's look over at the team blasted first, grain damaged, to see how they are handling the time crunch.
The problem with a limited time frame is you don't step back often enough and actually look at what you're doing. The worst thing a sculptor can do is not step back, because things get weird. You know, you might have 10 angles that are going the right direction and then one that's just not.
That's so true. Getting an overview of your work is critical.
Which is harder for teams like this who had fewer hours than the unblasted teams, like Women in Black, who are now upping the ante, I think, by adding another section to their sculpture.
This is a mirage. This is a very thirsty man. And this is what he thinks he's seeing as he crawls through the desert. He's got this beautiful vision. Of course, the minute he turns his head, it's gone. Just like this is gonna be gone very, very quickly.
This is all to earn points for artistic merit and compositional design, Chris, but I'm not a fan of how the head is tilted in proportion to the man's body, which lessens the technical difficulty of the sculpture.
Well, the team feeling real pressure has to be the team most recently blasted, Standing Ovations.
To me, it does not look like part of the fish. Do you understand what I'm saying, Dan? What I'm saying is I do not know how to make this look like a piece of shrapnel from the fish, and it doesn't look like it to me right now.
I'm a little shocked that these two are fighting. Looks like our explosions are really causing trouble for our artists.
Chris, I think they're butting heads over the idea of continuing the theme of their pilot fish sculpture by including pieces of it in their new coral reef.
Good on plants and buttons and bows, but can't do ribbons.
As you've said, this is the first time they've had to do 2 designs from scratch in one event.
Sure, adding explosions to the equation changes things, but these artists are used to working in hostile environments.
I've gotten so cold to where you can't feel your hands anymore.
Dealing with nature is a staple of sand sculpting.
We have had birds, rain, wind, typhoons, everything destroy our castles.
We've been through hurricanes and tornadoes.
Wear goggles, the sand's going in your eyes.
Sand sculpting is a battle.
And yet, even with all of nature's many threats,
I'm very afraid of pelicans. I hadn't even thought of that.
nothing compares to that threat known as man.
We spend a lot of time trying to educate the public.
So these are pieces of art, you know, to be enjoyed, not to be destroyed, and gonna have to eat my words when I go back home.
Yep, because nothing compares to the threat of man like the threat of this man.
Fire in the hole!
I guess that's as hostile as it can get.
Yeah, who knew the life of sand sculptors could be so tough?
Well, hard work and heartache are what separate the pros from the amateurs. It's always a battle on the beach for these artists.
And it's time for this battle to get ballistic once more.
Well, we're not going to be blown up because we have put the "Do Not Blow Up" sign on our sculpture. And we know this is universally recognized, and we're safe. So
I'd say that's wishful thinking.
That's it, Vanessa. The sculptors are clearing their plots for the final explosion, giving one team only a couple hours to start and complete a brand new work of art.
This is the deadliest blast of all, Chris. The teams know that if they survive the last lottery, they're off the hook. But whoever gets blasted now has the least time to recover. So to work out who gets the axe last, Chris, step on over to make sure the pick goes off without a hitch.
She's gonna pick out the last ball of the competition. 4 nervous teams waiting. The last one to be blown to smithereens. She's reaching in. I'm nervous, she's not. Here comes Tom, always so stoic, no emotion. And now we're gonna blow something up.
Chris, the teams are stepping up to get a view of the last blast. They appear physically and emotionally worn out.
Jill, you look miserable. If you get blown up now, you're screwed.
Yes, you're very right. It would be very, very bad. No, I don't want to be blown up.
Now, you've put a lot of hard work into this. If you do get blown up, any time to recover?
Not much.
Jill's absolutely right. After a day and a half of work, getting blasted now means one team will only have 2 hours to start and finish a new piece of art.
Now, Dan,
Sir.
people were excited when you got blown up. Is there anybody of the remaining 3 teams that you would like to see obliterated?
All of them.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. Fire in the hole! The explosives are set. Who's it gonna be? Arcasan's castle under siege? Women in Black's Mirage? Sand Daddy's wizard dentist? Or Sensational's bank robbery?
Ladies and gentlemen, Pacific Beach, Dan and Meredith, are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Sandblasters at Pacific Beach, California, where after 2 days of sculpting magic, 4 beautiful works of art have arisen from the sands, defiantly reaching toward the sky to claim their creators their share of $15,000 in prize money. But first, one of them is about to be flattened.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's Sand Daddy, baby, with the blast. Their wizard dentist is toast.
And the other teams are ready to party. This was the last blast. They are safe.
Let's see that blast again in slow motion.
Check out the wizard's hat. It flies straight up in the air and the sand shoots out the cut through by the dragon's wing. The whole thing is completely destroyed.
Justin, your thoughts?
I'm screwed.
Now, Ted, how's the leg?
It hurts. It's just hard to stand still for a long time or lay in bed. I mean, when I'm moving around, it's fine, but it's just, this is killing me right now.
Well, hey, let's get back out there and let's go. We got 2 hours left. Let's get after it. Okay, the teams are leaping into action. And Vanessa's getting a handle on Sand Daddy's Hail Mary play.
What you got planned?
We do a couple of bears tied up on some powder kegs, just ready to explode.
Something quick and dirty.
Yeah.
Team Sand Daddy going hard and fast. Ooh, maybe a little too hard.
I don't think we stand a chance.
They are just hacking away at that pile.
It's called no plans, no mistakes.
I don't know what that is.
That's his paw.
Oh, yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, quite a bit warmer than it was 5:30 this morning.
Chris, these poor guys are trying to do 2 days of work in less than 2 hours. I mean, the heat and exhaustion are catching up to both of these artists.
I just can't concentrate really well right now. I'm not making any sense. Give me a couple.
It's moments like these that make you realize what an extreme sport this really is.
Sand sculpting is a sport in a lot of ways. Very physically demanding, especially in many of the contests we enter where you have to shovel the sand for an hour, hour and a half before you even start sculpting.
Ask any of our artists and you'll learn that this line of work is more than just frolicking on the beach.
It's physical. Sand sculpting is hard work.
Sand is heavy, very, very heavy. It's pretty brutal.
And that has turned these champions into time-tested beach battle veterans.
It's a fight, a battle. You fight the sand, you fight the elements, and you fight the time.
It kind of wears on you real quick and you get old real quick.
And surviving the strain is what makes these artists stand out.
It's very physical, which makes it a sport, but it's also very creative and artistic. So you're combining 2 different elements. We're a different breed of artists.
Meredith's right, Vanessa. You sand sculptors are your own breed.
Yes, we are. And as a fellow sculptor, I can say that once you get a taste of victory out here on the beach, you'll do whatever it takes to keep winning.
Well then, over to Team Sandstorm, who've been fighting to keep their ultra-thin Matador sculpture standing.
It'll only last for a couple hours like this. Just the beach sand, it'll just fail.
That's true, and they've already had 1 near clap, so they're working on borrowed time.
And while he focuses on their bull's back leg, Sergey's daughter has stepped in to help these teammates communicate.
Yeah, They think they probably need at least 4 hours, but it's just 1 hour left. Russian never gave up.
Well, one team that's not giving up on an idea that just baffles me is Team Bucketheads, and their bizarre dream piece seems to be coming together, or maybe it's not.
That's the hang-up of abstract art, Chris. Nobody can tell when you're done.
A bunch of different faces, whatever kind of dream imagery you can come up with. Frog, puzzle pieces, question marks, all faces blended together. Nice, surreal piece.
Well, Vanessa, what do you believe the judges will think of that surreal approach?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to judge something like that. Without tons of undercuts or intricate gravity-defying elements, who's to say how technically difficult amount of melting faces and puzzle pieces is to carve? You could say that winning is in the details.
Well, for a detailed approach, let's check out Team Sensational.
I'm happy that we're still standing. Unbelievable luck. There's a whole bunch more that we want to do. We have the whole backside we have to carve.
And according to Thomas, it looks like they may have a small problem with this bank robbery sculpture.
What's happening is that the sand is drying out. And when sand starts to dry out, the wind's going to get to it and blow it away. So it just had a small piece fall off of it. I don't think we can fix it anymore.
The longer these sculptures last, the drier they get, and more of the fragile details are at risk of just falling off.
And even more trouble for Sandstorm's ultra-thin Matador and Bull.
Yeah, we lost the leg, this whole thing right here, while we were sculpting it. Big crack, so we just jammed a bunch of sand back up there and just kind of reshaped it just a little bit.
I'm nervous. He says okay, I say
Yeah, Bruce should be nervous. The judges will be making their decisions on the final sculpture no matter what state it's in at the end of the day.
And Vanessa, looks as though Arcasand is doing whatever they can to get the judges to like their castle under siege, like adding a lot of additional elements.
We're trying to do a little battle here. So we've started to construct the catapults and the warriors who are taking siege to the castle.
That's a classic technique that Greg and Co are using. They're altering perspective with those lower items.
We're basically taking another waterfall into a lower level, and it's to draw your eye further down and then have your eye go further up, and it creates an illusion that the castle is quite a bit taller. A lot of it is trickery.
Well, with less than 1 hour left, the recently blasted Team Sandaddy is scrambling to finish their sculpture on time.
This is a couple of bears tied up next to a powder keg.
Justin's working frantically, but wait a minute, where's Ted? Welcome back to Sandblasters, where we have 16 people exert themselves for 2 straight days. Then we destroy everything they've worked so hard to create right before their eyes. There's just a few minutes left until the end of the competition, when one of these works of art will win first place. And right now, everybody's racing to get their sand sculptures finished. Oh, man down! We've lost Ted from Team Sandaddy.
He complained about his back and leg pain all weekend, and this last dash may have leveled him.
While Ted takes a breather, that leaves teammate Justin to finish up all by himself, as they are now eligible for best recovery.
Trying to do the best I can. That's all I can do. At this point, it's a big crapshoot.
As Justin rushes to finish. Oh, he's in luck. Ted's back on the plot to get their second sculpture done.
I've known Ted for years. Nothing keeps this guy down. He always finishes the job no matter what, especially with $2,500 on the line for best recovery from a blast.
I think maybe my kids at home will understand why Dad's so tired when he comes home from these jobs.
All of our artists are cramming to get those last details finished. That's it, all of our contestants. That is it. Time is up. Don't touch another grain of sand. This competition is officially over. And Vanessa, as the teams step away, let's explain how the judging works.
Okay, the sculptures are judged on 3 overall criteria: artistic merit, technical difficulty, and compositional design. And for our best recovery prize, the judges will need to consider how much time a team has had to rebuild since suffering a blast. And there are some big prizes on the line.
First place gets $7,500. Second place takes home $5,000, and the team that makes the best recovery gets $2,500. And now, our panel of expert judges will decide who wins. Who will they choose? Let's look at our 3 unblasted entries. They had 2 full days to complete and are eligible for first or second prize. Team Arkasan built a castle under siege. The towers are damaged, and some even have cannonballs in them. There's a waterfall and lake that extends several feet from the building.
But unfortunately, castles can be considered too old-fashioned.
Okay, where's this guy crawling? To this mirage, built by women in black. A mermaid sits atop dolphins and fish, while the hallucinating man crawls through cow skulls and cacti.
A lot of gorgeous elements, but the crawling man doesn't appear entirely in proportion.
Well, Team Sensational has created a comic scene with a trio of robbers trying to break into a vault. They've connected dynamite to a plunger, but don't realize the key is right next to them.
A dynamic theme, and maybe the best detail on the beach.
Now to our blasted teams, all vying for first, second, and best recovery prizes. The team with the most time to start over was grain damaged. Their couch potato has a TV for a head.
Chris, they carved intricate gears into his back and even static on the TV screen. A nice touch.
The most delicate touches come from Team Sandstorm. This matador's cape swooshes up away from a bull.
This is the thinnest and most fragile entry. They fought to make this thing work.
The dark horse of the contest is clearly Team Bucketheads. Their surrealist dreamscape is made of melting faces and some bizarre details like these dead frogs.
Yeah, not sure what they were going for. Again, abstract art is not always a good move.
Moving on to Team Sanding Ovations, who had just a few hours to grow this coral reef.
It's covered with intricate texturing, which judges are sure to love.
Bears with Dynamite comes from Team Sand Daddy. These bears, ropes, and lots of explosives were all carved in less than 2 hours.
Chris, that's some amazing speed sculpting right there.
So it all comes down to this. Who will win? Who will become the first extreme sand sculpting champion ever?
Okay, the judges are calculating their scores for first and second place and working out their choice for best recovery.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our judges have made their decision. But before we open our 3 envelopes, how about we give these incredible artists a round of applause? Only 3 of you are gonna win some cash. First prize, best recovery. Vanessa, will you do the honors?
All right. And the winner of best recovery with a $2,500 cash reward is Team Grain Damaged.
Team Grain Damage.
I really liked Grain Damage a lot. I think they came back strong. I think they made some really good choices. While they were doing the piece, they didn't stick with things that didn't work.
Hold up your check. Great job. Another round of applause for them. Vanessa, what's next?
Well, it is the award for second place with a cash prize of $5,000. And it goes to Team Sandstorm!
Team Sandstorm, wow!
I think its strongest point was its simplicity.
They work well together. Both of them are excellent sculptors.
Now, Vanessa, we're at that moment.
The first place award, receiving a gigantic check for $7,500, goes to Sensational!
Sensational!
It tells a story, it's a narrative, and it tells that story in a small, concise space.
You look around and you see masterpieces. What do you think put yours over the top?
Unbelievable. I'm blown away.
I don't know. It just asks to be blown away, I guess, because it's all those bank robber guys with all the explosives. I think that's what it is.
Who came up with that concept?
Actually, Thomas did.
Great job, Thomas. Just won you $7,500. What a weekend. We've seen some great art. We've met some amazing people, and we've gotten to blow a lot of things up, which is always a good thing.
Oh, yeah. And I think there's only one way to properly say goodbye.
Our grand finale. Vanessa, take it away.
I can't wait. I'm so happy. Finally!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.